Hey everyone. So I'm going to talk about some specific dreams that have been posted online. If you haven't watched my last video talking about whether or not God speaks to dreams and whether we can pay attention to these or not, please watch that video. I go over the principles of really how to process these and decide, is this from God or not? Because I'm not one who said, I do not believe we should just accept everything everybody says. I think we need to be skeptical. The Bible is the only thing that I consider authoritative that we know for sure we can rely on. Everything else is the words of man until it proves otherwise. But that doesn't mean that God doesn't speak that way. In fact, as we said in the last video, Joel 2:28 is telling us that we should, in the last days, be listening and looking for people to have dreams and visions. So that said, again, if you have skepticism about dreams in general, watch the last video. In this video, I'm going to talk about some specific dreams that I think maybe we need to pay attention to. But last time here, I'm going to be clear. I am not stating that these dreams are things we can absolutely trust yet. Time will tell. But what I'm wanting to do in this video is just present to you what's out there so that you're aware as well. As I said, I was sent a video about beginning of August of a pastor named Dana Coverstone in Kentucky. And he posted this dream right at the end of June that he'd had. And it was fairly disturbing. What struck me about the dream at the time was that he saw some specific things that connected with what I had I'd written in my book 4 or 5 years ago, just from my understanding of Scripture, which is that we were probably going to be in a war soon, a global war with China and maybe others. What was curious to me, though, is that one thing he mentioned that he saw in his dream was he saw Chinese soldiers invading the United States. But he also saw Russian soldiers. Now, some of you are like, "What?" Yeah, hold on. I'll go backwards in just a minute. He saw that, and that struck me. And then I saw other Christians online had seen similar things. And I've been teaching. I've been going around teaching to groups throughout Georgia, where I live, South Carolina, a couple times. Different places, done few radio shows and things. I don't have a huge following. But when I teach, every single time I've taught, I'm telling you, every single time I've taught, somebody in the group has had a dream where they've seen the same things that I've been seeing posted online. That's attention getting. In fact, I'll tell you that one group I taught up in the North Georgia mountains a few months ago, I had barely begun talking about what I'd seen in the dreams online, and one guy piped up and said, you know something weird? I said, what? He said, about a year ago, I had a dream that we had been invaded by Asian soldiers. And that got my attention. Within seconds, another man in the group raised his hand. They were friends, and he had a pretty I don't know quite how to describe his expression. It was dismayed and shocked, but he raised his hand and said, it's even weirder. And I said, what? He said, the same night that he dreamt that, I dreamt we had been invaded by Russian soldiers. And we saw each other at church the next day, and we both kind of freaked out. Well, I would have too if I were them. But it's not, I'm just giving you these as examples of how consistent some of these themes are. So that said, let me just tell you what is being seen in dreams. There are very consistent things, okay? Like, when I first started talking about this, my wife said, well, you could probably search for a dream on anything and find it. So I tried that. And I'll tell you, you actually cannot. You can't do that. You can go on YouTube yourself, type in prophetic dream, and then just put in your favorite apocalyptic topic. You know, some of you keep posting on, in spite of what I've been teaching about the probability of President Erdogan of Turkey being a candidate for the Antichrist. Some of you are insistent that it's the Pope and a few other people. And go ahead, put prophetic dream, Pope, you know, Antichrist, or prophetic dream. Just pick anything you want. See what you find. You'll be surprised. You don't actually find that many topics. However, there are some consistent themes that are seen over and over again. So let me just lay them out. Here's what they are. People are seeing civil unrest in the United States, severe civil war, violence in the United States, civil war, basically. A lot of violence, especially in the cities, the big cities. Now, that one doesn't surprise you. Okay, you're like, well, anybody could see that. Okay. Yeah, but these dreams have been posted since 2011, right? Consistently, these dreams have been posted since 2011. They're increasing in frequency in recent years, but you go back to 2011 and find these dreams with these themes. And you tell me, 9 years ago, would you have gone online and posted that you'd had a dream about civil unrest and civil war in the United States in 2011? That's a little bit iffy, but that is what a lot of Christians are seeing. There's also a common theme of food shortages and famine, people living in shelters. Those are a consistent theme in certain dreams. There's a lot of Christians that have seen nationwide, or at least a widespread loss of electricity. A few have felt like that was the result of an EMP bomb or an EMP attack. If you don't know what that is, it's a nuclear bomb that's set off in the atmosphere by an enemy military. It doesn't kill people, doesn't destroy buildings, doesn't even put out radiation that would really impact people. It just destroys electronic devices. It sends out an electromagnetic pulse that fries electronic devices, and some people who've seen these dreams think that's what it was, that they were seeing the after effects of that. I don't know that that's so clear. If you pay attention to the part where they're actually just telling their dream, they're not necessarily, a couple of them may have seen something that would indicate that, but I think the only thing that's really clear is that there's a widespread loss of electricity for some reason. The invading armies, though, this one is big. Lots and lots of people have seen this. And all the details, you put them together, and it's a pretty clear picture. I'll just tell you what people are seeing, what they're saying they're seeing in their dreams. They're seeing a simultaneous invasion of the United States during a period of unrest where we're very divided, and the Russians come in from the east and also the north, and the Chinese soldiers come in from the west, on the west coast. And they begin going house to house, and they take everybody's guns away, and they begin putting certain people in camps. And that's pretty much what people are seeing. They're seeing a lot of violence, especially from the Russians at the beginning of this invasion. There's also another theme is the complete destruction of New York City. Hundreds of Christians have seen that. I don't know what to tell you. If you live in or around New York City, I'd move away. I mean, I would move away. I don't know. I don't have a time frame. I'm just telling you, lots of people are seeing that. Hundreds of people are seeing the same thing. And I have a lady that volunteers with our ministry who told me about her dream of the destruction of New York City, and she wasn't aware of anybody else posting anything anywhere. She was just kind of dismayed and shocked by it. So take it and do with it what you want. I'm just telling you what is being seen. It's common. And there's also last theme that's very common are tsunamis. Huge tsunamis hitting New York, Florida, California. different, actually California, I'm not so sure, but definitely Florida and the East Coast and New York City specifically. What exactly those represent is not clear, because there's been some Christians who dreamt this, and the tsunamis, or these waves coming in from the ocean, were clearly symbolic of invading armies. And the oceans in the Bible represent the world, the nations of the world. So a tsunami can be a symbolic representation, a dream of invading armies, overtaking a country. On the other hand, Russia has announced that they have developed a tsunami bomb, which is a nuclear bomb that is basically on an underwater device. It comes up, it's on based on a missile. It comes out of a submarine, it goes down into the water, and then crawls at around 4 miles an hour very slowly until it gets to the right position to explode, to detonate, and that creates a tsunami that destroys the coast. So they have announced they have that weapon. And there was one dream where a guy saw a missile coming up out of a submarine and going down into the water, and a tsunami coming up. So it could be either way. Okay, now, that said, those are the common themes. Go research them yourself. You're going to find lots of people posting this. I urge you to use the criteria I gave before, which is evaluate a person's spirit. Does it seem like they sincerely had this dream? And does it conflict with the Bible? Does it sound like God's voice? Yeah, we got careful. Don't just share these dreams with people that you find and say, we have to believe this. We have to. No, we need to listen, prepare ourselves spiritually and even physically. It doesn't hurt to store up food and water and get a little prepared for these things. But we don't need to go into a state of fear, and we definitely don't need to be telling people that something is absolutely going to happen if we're not sure. Okay? But it doesn't mean we don't talk about it either. We just have to talk about it as I'm talking about it, with caution. With weight, but with caution. So, now let's talk about some specific dreams. Dana Coverstone, what did he see, and why are people starting to think that maybe they're not true, and why are some people hanging on to it as it might be true? Before I talk about his, there are two others. Like, the thing that made Dana Coverstone's dreams unique is because he saw a calendar. He's one of the few that saw a lot of these things, and he saw them connected to a calendar. And some people are deciding that what he saw was not true and not reliable, because it seems, at least at face value, that the things he saw in October and November did not come true. We're going to talk about that and what that might mean, and if it really is at this point possible to write him off or not. But I want to point out that there are two other men that I've watched that had a lot of weight to me, based on their character, how they presented themselves, what they said, the urgency of it, etc. And one of them is a pastor, a black pastor named Charles Turner, and the other is a Messianic Jewish rabbi. And actually, I forget his name offhand. I don't have his name. I'm sorry, but I'm going to put links to their videos in the description of this one so you can find them easy. What's curious to me is that these men could not be more opposite on the surface. You've got a very mild manner, white Jewish rabbi who comes across as meek, but very convinced of what he saw. On the other hand, you have this black, passionate pastor, Charles Turner, who is also very convinced of what he saw. And they saw the same things, and they heard the same things about the months, the number of months involved, and the time frame involved. And they both posted on the same day, which was June 30th. They both had these dreams on June 30th of this year. I think one of them posted right after midnight, so his post date is like July 1st. But he was very clear in the video. He said, I just woke up, I had this dream, God told me I had to post it. So they're very interesting to watch. And they're seeing a lot of the same things that Coverstone saw. And they were both clear in their dreams that the time to prepare was up through yesterday, November 30th. November was the last month of the preparation time that they laid forth, and which would imply that the things they saw would be beginning to happen this month. I do think that Dana Coverstone's dreams may be seeing the same thing. If you're familiar with his, then I'm just going to talk about what he saw, and I'm assuming you're familiar with it. If you're not, you might want to go back and watch it. But I'm going to just stay at a high level on his because in the interest of time. The first dream he talked about, he posted this dream again at the very end of June, at the same time that Charles Turner and this Messianic rabbi posted their dreams. So again, it was all at the same time. And the rabbi and Charles Turner would not have had time to see each other's videos because it was the same night. Anyways, so Dana Coverstone, he claimed that he'd been given a dream last December in which he saw a calendar and God tapping the month of March for this year and tapping the month of June for emphasis. A hand tap 3 times. Then he saw images connected to coronavirus and hospitals and vaccines and ambulances, people on ventilators, and he saw images connected to the riots, which would be June, and protests and surrounding Capitol buildings and things like this. And he states in the dream that he told men in his church about that dream in December, long before those things happened. He didn't make a video about it at the time. Then the reason he was posting in June is because he'd had a second dream. And in this dream, he saw images of severe civil unrest, worse violence. He saw Washington, D.C. burning. He saw politicians yelling at each other. He saw essentially the beginning of civil war. And then he saw UN, the United Nations, sending in soldiers. The headline he saw was UN steps in to help host country. And Russian and Chinese soldiers again, which is what other people have seen. So the picture we get from his dream specifically, if they're true, is that our civil war, our fighting among ourselves gets so bad that the United Nations steps in to help put down the violence. Well, China and Russia would be the main players there, and they would be claiming the moral high ground, stepping in to take these gun-crazy Americans, take their guns away. To stop the violence. That's kind of the picture that is being portrayed in these dreams. Now, in this second dream that he saw, the hand was back and it tapped and emphasized September, and then a fist punched November and destroyed the calendar. And there you go. And that's why a lot of people are starting to say, well, these aren't true. The fist did not punch in November. Okay, and destroy the calendar. Where's the Civil War? However, here's what I would just say about the Coverstone dreams. And I'm skeptical. I'm watching. I'm not sure. But when I watch them and I pay attention, one thing that stands out to me is that the first initial natural interpretation is to, when you watch his videos, is to feel like the images that he's seen about actions and news headlines would fit and have to fit and correspond into that month of the calendar that he's seen, the page of the calendar he's seen. It's a natural interpretation. That's kind of how I started. But I think it's actually different. I think that the times that he's seen a calendar and the white hand touch dates or things, and there's a lot of the things that he saw that did come true, that have come true since he posted, which is another reason we've been giving, some of us have been watching these and giving them some weight. But I think that the times that he's seen the calendar pages may just be more of an emphasis on certain dates, that important things are happening, which those things have happened. The rest of the things that he's seen, the politicians yelling at each other, the unrest and stuff, those are themes that will likely play out over a significant amount of time. and are not necessarily bound by a certain month to take place. Let me give you an example. The overlying theme of all of the dreams that he's posted, because God, if these dreams are from God, God's given him a lot of dreams, and they're all very detailed and specific. But one consistent theme that is seen throughout them is that of division in the United States. The United States is divided, hopelessly divided, to the point that in one of the dreams, Jesus goes into the United States Capitol building and says, "A house that is divided shall not stand." And he turns off the lights in the Capitol building, symbolizing the end of the United States of America, at least our government system as we know it. Now, if you haven't seen any of these dreams, and that may shock you, go watch them, decide for yourself. But what I would point out is that when you step back and you stop worrying about details of, limitations by the calendar, and you start asking yourself, what is God actually trying to communicate? The theme of division, of us being divided as a people, double-minded as a people, is consistent throughout the dreams. And you could look at March, the tapping, the emphasis of March, which corresponds to coronavirus, as a clear escalation in the division of Americans from one another. Coronavirus has divided us further than we were before. You have two camps. We have people, Christians, non-Christians. It's not really divided on that, along those lines on this issue, but masks or no masks. Is COVID to be taken seriously, or is it not to be taken seriously? We are divided. Now, we are more divided because of coronavirus that began in March than we were before. However, the division among us, culturally and socially, that has happened because of coronavirus was a moment of emphasis, but it wasn't sufficient to destroy us as a country. We could have survived that level of division. June, tap, tap, tap. The riots, Black Lives Matter, the protests. Another new point of division happened. There are two camps. Do you support Black Lives Matter because you are concerned about systemic racism and you want to make sure that all minorities get justice and opportunities in this country? Or are you in the camp that says it's not about race? Black Lives Matter is a Marxist organization that is just trying to bring in a socialist revolution and destroy this country. Two sides seeing two completely different things. Division. Tap, tap, tap. June. Again, serious division, new division among us, in addition to the division of coronavirus. It's a tap, tap, tap emphasis kind of division, meaning the Black Lives Matter controversy has divided us too, but it's not enough. It was not enough to destroy us as a country by itself, although these are accumulating. September, he saw tap, tap, tap. The death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, which happened on Rosh Hashanah, right after Constitution Day. It was a prophetic event. Her replacement by Amy Coney Barrett, a clear pro-life Christian Supreme Court justice that will stand up for life. This nomination to the Supreme Court created a new point of division in the country. Again, we were divided in September over this appointment. Were the Republicans and Trump being just in appointing her, or should they have waited till after the election? And we're divided over abortion, right? We have clear, passionate advocates in the pro-choice side, and we have very passionate people on the pro-life side saying that abortion is always murder. We are divided by these things. So we have 3 points of division: health, race, and abortion. But even that was a tap, tap, tap moment. Not enough to destroy the country. However, on November 3rd, and this is when Coverstone had the dream about November 3rd, or the November, he saw a finger circle 3 times one way, and then it went backwards. 3 times one way, and then backwards. So some of us have been watching that, wondering, well, what does it mean? Well, November 3rd was the election. And the 3 times at this point would seem to correspond to 3 weeks. That the election was going one way for 3 weeks, and then it would be undone. And the Pennsylvania State Senate held a hearing on voter fraud and the irregularities. They let the Trump campaign attorneys come in and present their dozens of eyewitnesses to the voter fraud that occurred. It was the first time they'd been able to successfully present evidence, because they've been wanting to present this evidence in a court of law, and up to that point, judges wouldn't even let them have a hearing. They kept dismissing the cases without giving them a chance to present evidence. That was the first day that they finally got to present evidence. Well, do you know what day that happened on? That happened on the first day of the 4th week after the election. So 3 full weeks, 21 days passed since November 3rd, with Biden being the apparent president-elect until that Pennsylvania State Senate hearing. And now, as many attorneys who were skeptical of the voter fraud are saying, everything shifted. That day, everything changed. You're not hearing about it necessarily in the news yet, but the momentum has changed. And you may not be paying close enough attention, but the momentum is going the other way. This election is going to, just look at the legal. This isn't just because I or anybody else would want to see this out. I'm just telling you what I'm seeing in the news is the momentum is going the other way. More state legislatures are waking up to the fact that there was a lot of voter fraud that happened in this last election, and they're taking action. And the Electoral College is going to end up voting, I believe, for Trump as a result. Now, you can imagine what's going to happen when that happens. We all know what's going to happen when that happens. And that, I believe, was the fist punch of November. There are those who are going to say and maintain to their dying breath that this was a legitimate election, that Biden won. And there are dozens and dozens of millions, tens of millions of Americans that are absolutely convinced that the election was stolen in a very serious and obvious way. So you have 2 clear camps. Division. And that division, my friends, is one that our country, I don't believe, is going to survive. That seems like a fist punch level division. The others were emphasis. We're becoming more divided. The division is really becoming more apparent through these things. They're not causing the division, they're actually just revealing it. They're revealing division that's already there. But the election, an election at this level, stolen or believed to not have been stolen, but others are acting and taking legal action as if it was. How do you have half of the population just accept that? It doesn't seem that we can overcome that. Time will tell. We need prayer. We need prayer for our country. And again, with the Coverstone dreams and with the rabbi and with Charles Turner's dreams, watch. I'm not saying that they're absolute, but there's a lot of evidence that God is doing something and that some hard times are coming to the United States. This is what I've been saying consistently in all my videos. But stay tuned. I try to approach things very calmly and logically, and I believe we just need to trust God through it all because He is in control. And if we are going through these hard times, they're for a reason. They're for good purposes. They're for the good of those who love God. It may take time to get through it. It may not be easy, but He will strengthen us. Regardless, pursue Him like you never have before. And that is the main message I would always like you to get from any of the videos that I post. Have a great day.